Good morning, everyone. This is Biz Chicks TV. This is the place where you can find tips and tools to help you do business better. We're here to help you run a profitable business. It's fun to run and to take the hassle out of your hustle. And today we are here with Robin and Shimizu and friends for Happy Healthy Habits with Robin Shimizu, all the way from Sacramento, California. We are so excited because, Robin, we know when you're in the house, we are in for a treat. We pray all is well with you and your mom. And I hope you're writing that book, A Year with Mom. Yes. And in addition to that, I just want to say hello to everyone who's watching on the replay, those of you who are watching live, and also to those of you who will be listening to this later, perhaps on a podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about a subject that I know is near and dear to everyone's heart, but I'm going to allow Robin to introduce that. In the meantime, Robin, do you have a happy, healthy tip for us today?
Well, I was just thinking it would be a good time to talk about how we can get ready for 2022
Mm.
by starting to declutter.
Ah.
And if we start to declutter now, when we get into 2022, we'll have some momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's a super busy time with the holidays and everything, but I have a really super easy trick for
Oh.
people to kind of reset their I think it's part of a mindset or and an attitude or whatever about clutter
Mm.
and how clutter around you really isn't healthy.
No, it is not.
So there's a feng shui trick, and I don't know a whole lot about it, but it works.
Ah.
So you take 27 things a day and you deal with them. You pick up something, whatever it is, a beloved old blouse or an old ratty jacket or whatever, and you decide if you're going to keep that, if you're going to donate that, or if you're going to sell that, but you're going to do something with it. And you get it
Mm.
out of your house. So you get 27 things like that out of your house. It could be 27 emails if you're really super busy that day
Mm-hmm.
and you can't do it. So you get 27 things out of your life for that day, set for 9 days, only 9 days.
Mm-hmm.
And it sets you into a momentum that in feng shui world that will help your world become more manageable. And so I've done it, but I never go through the 9 days. I go like maybe 5 days and then I don't do it. So then I have to start over because you have to do 9 days in a row. So I'm going to start that today. I've been decluttering like crazy over my mom's house.
Uh-huh.
But, I'm going to start now counting and getting rid of things and putting them in the garage, getting ready for my donation pickup. Yeah,
Wow.
so try that for a trick or for a habit. Declutter for 2022.
Wow. I love it. I love the idea of getting rid of stuff that you do not need. Oh my
Mhm,
goodness. Please help us. Here we go. Decluttering 27-9.
mhm,
27 items for 9 days
mhm.
to
That's
make
all.
room in your life for something new, something good, and something better. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness. So Cecilia's here. Hi,
Oh,
Cecilia.
yay. Hi, Cecilia.
Good morning, lady. She is our super fan. We love Cecilia. Cecilia, it's so good to see you this morning. I hope you've already got one thing to help you move forward in the coming year. Meanwhile, we've got a guest.
We
Um,
do.
So, what else do you have for us today?
So today we're going to be introduced to somebody new to the show,
Mhm.
Dr. Sheitel Shaw. She is a licensed clinical psychologist and she lives in Sacramento. Um, she is largely working at UC Davis
Mhm.
in the medical center where she provides clinical services to the physicians there and in the physicians in training in terms of dealing with their mental health and their emotional health and things like that, which is so important. um, we met Dr. Shaw via Dr. Tamika Jackson.
Yes.
who we had on last week. So this is so super cool. So with that, maybe Dr. Shaw can introduce herself a little bit more and fill in the blanks. She came from I guess, well, she earned her doctorate and her master's degree in counseling and psychology at Southern Illinois University at
Mm.
Carbondale.
Oh, East Coast girl. No wonder.
And now she's with us here at UC Davis. So this is really exciting. And she's got a private practice too. So let's bring her on and she can fill in the gaps that I have missed in
All right.
introducing her.
Very good. Good
Good
morning,
morning.
Tamika.
Hi,
Good
good
morning,
morning.
Dr. Shaw. How are you?
I'm great. I
I
love
think
all
I
the
said Tamika. I'll apologize. I had her on my mind. Good.
it's good to be with you.
Well, it is so good to have you.
And Robin, thank you for the introduction. I'm Sheitel. Hi, everyone. I'm a psychologist out in Sacramento, as Robin said. And my goal is always to get people to feel valued and seen and heard. I think people's stories are so important. I feel people's emotional experiences are so important. And so I feel like my job is to create spaces where people can be authentically themselves. So whether I'm doing that for physicians at work or doing that for folks in my private practice, that's always what I enjoy. And Robin, when you were talking about decluttering, the thing that also came up for me is, gosh, like how much space we create for ourselves, not just literal space, but even mental space when we allow ourselves to declutter. So I'm going to try that 27-9 challenge too. I don't know. It's the whole 9 days consistency feels hard, but I'm pushing myself here too. I'm going to join you.
You can find very clever ways of getting those 27 items out of your house. Like I said, just go through your email and get rid of 27 emails for that day.
I can also go through my shoe collection since I can't wear heels anymore.
Oh, okay.
That'll work.
Now, everybody now is going to want to know what is your shoe size, right?
I do have some wonderful heels that my body is just like, nope, we're done. We're done with this era.
I hear you. Been there, done that. Oh my gosh.
And smart to do it while you're young.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So what do you have for us today, Dr. Shaw? We're going to talk about grief or dealing with grief during the holidays or something. Yeah. Let us know.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about the question I keep getting the most from a lot of my clients, whether it's at work or at private practice or even a lot of my friends, right? Like most people I know have been dealing with grief in a big way. A lot of folks have been unable to attend Zoom or funerals, and so they've done it via Zoom. A lot of folks have lost someone to COVID or just lost someone to natural causes or all kinds of reasons. But grief this year has been really heavy. Right? Like I think the world is feeling it, the nation's feeling it, we're all feeling it. So one question I keep getting from folks is, how do I deal with grief as I meet with family for the first time in a while? Or how do I deal with grief when I'm not feeling like I'm in the best place, but I'm going to be with a group of people that I really love and want to be around? Or I'm going to be with a group of people, like not all families are as supportive or exciting, right? And so how do I deal with my grief when I'm also taking care of community or in community with others? So I have some tips for folks to kind of just think through, and we can talk more about it. So one of my first tip, and this is going to be true for anything that you're going through, but especially grief, is to give yourself permission to feel. Start by taking space and acknowledging your emotions. Give yourself a minute to take a deep breath and ask yourself, how am I feeling in this moment? Am I feeling joy, sadness, anger, frustration? What am I feeling in this moment? No one feeling is better or worse than the other. It just is, right? Authentically in that moment, what am I feeling? Sometimes we fall into a pattern of, we get, especially around the holidays, where it's all about doing, right? Like we do. I'm going to bake a cake. I'm going to make this huge meal. I'm going to decorate my house. I'm going to do all these things because sometimes it's easier to ignore how I'm feeling. But stopping and taking a second and saying, how am I really doing in this moment? And allowing yourself to meet that need is going to be really important. So ask how you're doing in the moment. What emotions am I holding? What do I notice? Is there a physical component to how I'm feeling? Right. And so when I'm sad, I feel so tired. When I'm angry, I feel really hot, right? Is there a physical component? When I'm feeling joyful, like I'm so full of energy. So what's happening there? Notice that in any given moment, you can hold multiple feelings, right? I can feel sad and happy at the same time. I can feel loss but gratitude at the same time, right? I can feel like, I'm sure you've all been in that situation where you're crying because you miss somebody, and then you think of a funny memory and you're laughing at the same time, right? And so we can hold multiple emotions, and that's really important. So don't ignore how you're feeling. The pain doesn't go away. Talking about it helps. It helps in the process of healing. So give yourself permission to feel is my first tip. My second tip is doing what's right for you. Set realistic expectations for yourself. Ask yourself, where is my energy going? What is going to energize me? What's going to make me feel good? What's going to not make me feel good? What's going to make me feel drained? That question around energy feels really important for me during this time of the year, especially because we carried a lot of stress for the full year, and now it's time to just be able to relax and let go. And the question I want to always ask myself is, what's going to bring me energy? When I'm already stressed, I don't want to overextend myself. I want to do enough to help take care of the stress, but also to take care of myself. Give yourself permission to avoid circumstances that you might not be ready to handle, right? So do what's right for you. If you're not ready to go do something, if you're not ready to take on a new task, it's okay. Nothing has to happen right now. Allow yourself to give yourself permission to do what's right for you when you're with family and there's some tension that happens, right? So maybe you want to walk away for a second. Maybe you want to have some alternative strategies planned. My favorite thing to do is volunteer to put someone's child to bed, because I will. So I love spending time with children. They're so much more fun and innocent sometimes. So sometimes
Yes.
I'll be like, you all do this. I'm going to put your kids to bed. I'll read the stories, and I'll like enact like a great book with them. That brings me a lot of joy, but it also gives me time alone and time away from maybe some of the things that might be going on.
That is great. I never thought of that. Yes.
Yes. I also give myself permission to be the one who's going to go make the cocktails, because it allows me to get in my head, it allows me to slow down, it allows me to create something, which is really exciting for me. I love to be able to create. There's an art form to cocktails. So I'll be like, you all relax on this couch. I'm going to go do something really cool and bring it back to you. I love giving things to people in form of food and beverages, right? So it allows me to have space for myself, be creative, be in my head, but then also know that I'm going to come back and nourish people in a fun way. So that's what I'm like. I give myself permission to say, okay, I need a break. I'm going to go do something fun for me.
Wow,
I love that.
that's good.
Yeah.
I like the idea that you can escape, because sometimes,
So important.
especially around the holidays, some conversations can get very interesting, especially over the last couple of years. People have gotten different things have happened, and so we
Mhm.
find these situations occurring more often than not.
Yes.
And we're looking around like, I don't really want to go down this road. I want to be happy. I want to be joyous during this time. I came to celebrate with my family, not to argue with them or whoever. And so the idea that, oh, I can take a mental break by
Mhm.
doing something positive.
Mhm. Yeah, so important. And sometimes it just feels good to just get away for a second, right? And I can choose. I can choose when I'm going to participate. I don't have to always participate in the hard conversations.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's really important for me to. Sometimes it's important for me to just step away from it.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. What you're basically saying is that we should choose things for ourselves,
Yeah, do what's
and
right for you.
yeah, awesome.
Yes, and the whole idea of checking in with our own feelings.
Mhm.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, how am
Mhm.
I feeling right now?
Mhm.
And giving ourselves permission to actually accept that feeling and work through it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Yesterday I attended a celebration for someone who was close to me, and just being arriving early gave me a chance to
Mhm.
sit down and really reflect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And spend some time asking, how am I feeling about this? And I know I'm going to miss this person, and
Mhm.
that's to be expected. But
Mhm.
just having that time to breathe before everybody came in made a difference for me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I love how present you were with yourself. These things are so important. Sometimes life just moves so fast, or
It does.
we're so caught up in having to do things. We forget that healing happens when we feel, healing happens when we slow down. Understanding and meaning happens when we allow ourselves to say, who was this person to me? What was so important about my relationship with the person? What am I missing in my life when this person is no longer here? Because so much
Mm-hmm.
about grief is having to adjust to some absence, right? Somebody filled a role in my life, whether they were a friend or a family member. They played an important role in my life, and that role is going to be absent for the rest of my life. I need to stop and say, what does that mean to me?
Hmm. Absolutely. Oh, okay. So we have two tips here. We have get in touch with our feelings and do what's right for you.
Yeah. My next tip is planning ahead. Right. So if you know that your family has some traditions, or you know that they're meeting, but there was a death in the family, right?
Hmm.
Decide ahead of time what family traditions you're going to continue this year. Decide ahead with your family if there's new traditions that you want to evoke, right? And so
Hmm.
I have a mentor who passed away a couple of years ago. Tomorrow is his birthday. And whenever my mentor family gets together, it is this wonderfully vibrant, rich, thoughtful group of badass people. They're just wonderful. And our mentor taught us to be this way. He was like a father figure for all of us. But when we were all together, when Dr. White was around, he on Earth, he would hold court. That's what he called it. He held court, and we all would just sit around, and every single person shared and talked about what was happening for us in the space. So now, when we all get together, and Dr. White is no longer physically with us, we honor him by having an empty chair and draping a cloth over it, whether it's a blanket or something that's significant, and just honoring the fact that he is spiritually, emotionally, and in our memory still with us. So creating that new tradition. Oftentimes, I've heard of lighting a candle for a loved one in the room. I think it's very popular in Indian culture. We'll light something called a diya, which is like a small candle. um, Maybe coming up with like a new tradition in terms of like making their favorite food, or making playing their favorite games, or playing their favorite record. Thinking about what traditions you want to continue, planning ahead.
Hmm.
What traditions do you want to keep? What traditions do you want to add? It's really important to have that dialogue with people, so you know what to expect, you know what to anticipate, you know what to plan for, so you're not completely caught off guard. It helps kind of manage that fear and that anxiety and sadness, and it also helps channel that the feelings that might be coming up into something really great.
Hmm. Well, one of our contributors, Mark, says, both of my parents have been gone for 3 or 4 years. My
Mm,
family is my dog. The holiday has become a challenge.
yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
that loneliness is hard. Robin and I were talking about being single. I'm a single person, and sometimes, most times, I spend New Year's Eve on my own, or like there's these things that happen where I would love to be able to embrace more in my life, but sometimes it's more people in my life, but sometimes that's not possible. So do something that might help celebrate the memory of folks. Do something that might celebrate the memory of how they live within you.
Hmm.
So sometimes for me that's journaling. Sometimes for me that's playing some really good music and cooking some meals that I've shared with somebody. Finding ways that you can have comfort um, while you're alone. I think that's important. Yeah.
Yes, Mark. I'm sure Mark appreciates that.
Yeah.
So, and
And
I know that this is going to be challenging for a number of people. We have lost quite a few people over the last couple of years,
we have, yeah.
and also, I heard you say at the beginning of the program, Dr. Shaw, that you actually, I don't want to use the word minister. You actually um, counsel
Mhm.
individuals who are in the health field. and they must be going through quite a bit right now.
They are, yeah. I think folks have seen a record number of people die under their care, especially in the last year with COVID, right? I think nationally 800,000 people have passed away. One of the things that healthcare workers are struggling with is the amount of people that are coming in with high acuity and passing away. Watching people pass away often alone because of different hospital policies where loved ones can't be there, and so figuring they're oftentimes the one who's with somebody when they leave or when they transfer. They're often, but they also have to compartmentalize and then go on to treat the next person. And they don't, oftentimes, people aren't trained to say, how do I deal with my grief?
Yes.
They're trained to take care of a bunch of things. They're really good at compartmentalizing. They're really high functioning, and they can hold a lot and do a lot. And at the end of the day, we're all human, right? And so one of the things I work with my clients when they come to therapy is we talk about what does grief look like for them? How do they honor these people that they're in contact with? A lot of my folks will go home and just light a candle if they lost somebody that day and just take a few seconds to remember who they are, because it allows them to let go, but also honor. We also talk about grief in terms of how does it show up? How do you deal with grief when it comes up all the time, right? Like even if it's like someone that you met once and they passed away, that's adding to all the other people that you've already lost.
Well, let me ask you this. There's been not only a lot of grief as a result of losing individuals, but also people have lost so much. I was looking at the pandemic, the different destruction that happened with the tornado. But before we do that, I want to put Mark's comment up. He says, I do appreciate it. Great suggestions. Thank you. You're welcome, Mark. Mark is usually our resident comedian, so it's kind of interesting to see him be so sober this morning.
Well, Mark, I was going to say sometimes using humor and sarcasm allows me to get through a lot of painful situations. Because so I commend you on hopefully you're doing that as well. And then relying on my chosen family, so my friend group, to also help me get through stuff.
Wow. So my question to you is, how can people who have suffered not only the loss of a loved one, but the loss of their possessions? I'm looking at scenes where people have lost everything that they spent lifetimes building. That's a lot to deal with.
Oh,
And then in some cases, not only their possessions, but also just the loss of loved ones in the midst of all of that. Because even if they didn't lose someone in their immediate family, they probably lost a friend down the street, or someone from work, or someone from their church, or someone who touched their life.
absolutely.
How do we deal with that?
I know.
And these tips that you've been giving us
Yeah.
are essential. Is it different trying to deal with the loss of property versus the loss of life?
I mean, a little bit and no, right? Like, so that's a complicated question in that.
Sorry.
No. These are good thoughts. I mean, property and life are different.
They are different.
But they hold so much meaning, right? Sometimes, like, I worked really hard to buy my house, and if I lost it, it would cause me a lot of pain, right? Like,
You know what I mean?
Right. And so we don't want to minimize that. And so the first step is I'm going to go back to my point number one, is stop and acknowledge, how are you feeling in this moment? There's so much going on. It's going to be so complex. How do we just stop and acknowledge, okay, in this exact moment, where are you? How are you feeling? Number two is trying to get some perspective of like, okay, I have lost a lot. What do I still have? Where is my community? How can I support and give back and take from my community? Because we want that community care to happen. In times like this, when you're talking about, the tornadoes that touched down in Kentucky, for example, I feel like community care is going to be the most important thing we can do, aside from, because we can talk about self-care, right? And I'll talk about that in a second, but making room for yourself to give to others and making room for others to give to you, that's going to be really important, right? So stopping and saying, how am I doing? Asking myself, what can I do to give myself a little bit of perspective? then what can I do to be part of this community? Where can I get from my community? Because that's really important. And if I have something to give, where can I give to my community? Rebuilding is hard. There's going to be trauma associated with it, right? A lot of these folks have maybe the
Yes.
experience, near death experiences. Maybe they were right where the tornado was. And so the other thing I want to say is think about your mental health, right? Think about your spiritual health. How are you taking care of yourself in that way? Go to counseling, go to community-based like group sessions, so
Mhm.
that you know what other people are going through and you can talk to them about it. Go to individual counseling, because when trauma happens, oftentimes it brings up stuff that we've already been dealing with, right, or
Mhm.
other traumas that we've dealt with. And so I want to make sure we make room to go to counseling. You can put up my email and I can help direct people to myself, to other people in the Sacramento area, certainly, and maybe California, if you're
Okay.
needing some counseling. Because I think being able to have a space where it's non-judgmental and free, and you get to be able to just process what's happening for you and make meaning of it, will be really important. Taking care of your physical health is important too, right? Are you sleeping? Are you eating well if you can? Are you nourished? Are you getting some movement in your body? um, Taking care of your spiritual health. Are there religious practices, faith-based practices, meditation kind of stuff that you can just take a deep breath and calm yourself and ground yourself with? And then I talked about community care, but social health, right? Like, where are your relationships? Who's your support system? How are you invoking them?
Mm. Wow. I
And
know.
sorry, I was going to say this last piece. Grief
Mhm.
is complex and trauma is complex, and it doesn't go away overnight,
Okay.
right? We can't just say, all right, well, we talked about it and we're done. Grief
Mhm.
stays with us for a long time. It's about endurance. You're never not going to miss somebody who was so meaningful to you
Mhm.
because they were so meaningful to you. You were so lucky to have that person in your life that was so meaningful to you. You're never not going to miss them. It just won't feel as raw 10 years down the line.
Okay. So healing can take time.
Absolutely. Healing will take time.
Yeah. And I don't know if we ever really want to forget people who really impacted our life. We just, like you said, want to find out how do we endure this
Yeah.
and how do we celebrate them while we're here?
Yeah.
How can we reflect the things in our life that they sowed into us?
Yeah. How do we honor them in that relationship?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
And last tip is the most important thing to remember is that there's no right or wrong way to do any of these things. And I think we have to give ourselves permission to know that, right? Like,
Mhm.
I know in family situations, oftentimes family will just say, well, you got to do this and you got to do this. And this is the answer. There's no right or wrong way. That might work for some people. What might work for someone might not work for you. What might work for you might not work for someone else. The best way is for you to figure out what's right for you. And that's by asking, how am I feeling? What do I need? What's the best method for me? What's worked for me in the past? I want to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do for myself.
So Mark has a comment here. He says, as a society, we could all benefit from learning how to remain present and not run from grief, which is what you just said, right?
Yeah.
It is a testament to love, which is worthy of attention. You know, sometimes you can wax so poetic, Mark. I, I just love you. Let's see here. We don't need to fix it. We
Mhm.
need to learn to embrace and move through it. How
Yeah.
beautifully spoken.
Very much so.
Wow, doctor. So I often tell people it's not right, it's not wrong, it's just different.
It's
And
just a
sometimes we just have to accept the fact that people handle things differently. And as Marx indicated, we don't need to fix it. Everything is not for us to fix. And no is a complete sentence. Okay.
I love that.
Is it not? Yes. So we just want to thank you so much for joining us today. Oh my goodness.
I know that was a lot of information. I'm so
It
happy
was
to share.
beautiful though.
I hope people take good care and embrace what feels right for them during this holiday season and as you move through grief.
I don't think we could have had a more perfect guest for
Oh,
today, getting ready for Christmas, getting ready for the holidays, getting ready for not just Christmas, but the whole new coming upcoming year.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna light a candle for Fred.
mhm.
Wow, how beautiful.
Yeah.
How beautiful is that? Yes.
I love that. I love. I mean,
But
Oh,
thank you, Doctor. For
mhm.
those of you who want to get in touch with Dr. Shaw, this is her email address. And you do take private patients, am I correct?
I do.
Okay. So we want you to know this is how you can contact her. And let's see here. Mark says, "Thank you, ladies. I appreciate all of you. We appreciate you too, Mark.
Mhm.
Uh,
we really do. Yeah.
and we love you, and we wish you well every day, not just the holidays, but every day. So we will be thinking about you and praying for you, and we pray that you will have a joyous holiday because of all that people have poured into each of us.
Yeah.
We need to take this time to celebrate them as well. So,
Community care.
mhm. So Robin,
You know what? I don't have a guest for next week.
okay,
Is
no
it's the
problem.
23rd? Are we having a show next week on the 23rd?
I don't know what we may be doing a replay so that you can have a break.
That's so
So
funny.
that you can have a break. So we'll talk about that. But guys,
Okay.
you know, we will be running a show on
On the
Monday through
23rd.
Friday. We just want to remind everybody that, we're here Monday through Friday. And we are the Biz Chicks. Let me get back to the right banners here. And if you are looking to become a part of the Biz Chicks community, you can join Biz Chicks by texting Biz to 33777 and following the prompts. We also want you to know that here at Biz Chicks, we're here to help you run a profitable business that's fun to run and to take the hassle out of your hustle. We want to thank Dr. Shaw again and Robin. You always have such amazing guests. So we look forward to seeing you again next week, Robin, as well. And Dr. Shaw, thank you again for your what would you just say? Just wonderful contribution to helping a lot of us get through the holidays.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing a memorial for my children's father during the holidays, and so we're all going through different things, and we thank you for showing us and guiding us and helping us to get real with ourselves, that it's okay to feel some kind of way
Yeah.
and to be okay with that. Thank
Yeah.
you again. We want to remind everybody that tomorrow we'll be talking tech and English with the tech divas. Don't be scared, because anything that you don't understand, we will break it down so that you can help you figure it out. So we'll be here 8 o'clock Pacific time, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and we encourage you to come on over, join the conversation, and above all, guys, remember to go to the front of your own line. Have a great day, and we will see you soon. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.